Raza Rumi is a director, Park Center for Independent Media, and visiting faculty in Cornell University Institute for Public Affairs. He's the editor, the Friday Times, and founder of Naya Daur Media. He's a member of the think tank Laboratory for Global Performance and Politics, Georgetown University, and non-resident fellow at the Berkeley Center for Religion, Peace, and World Affairs. He was a fellow at the New American Foundation, United States Institute of Peace, and the National Endowment for Democracy. He has authored several books, including Delhi by Heart, Impression of a Pakistani Traveler, The Frontiers Path, Pakistani Democratic Transition, Identity, Faith, and Conflict, and Being Pakistani Society, Culture, and the Arts. He's co-editor and volume essay entitled Rethinking Pakistan, Anthem Praise, September 2020. Bina, if you want to add anything.
And yeah, no, I just want to add that Raza is also co-founder of Sapan, and we asked him to draft this brief resolution, which he's done at very short notice. So thank you, Raza, and I'll let you conclude. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bina. And, once again, it's a pleasure. And I'm really honored that you asked me to give my comments. I wrote something up, but I'm not going to read that because we're already short of time. I'll just make a few points. And based on some of the great presentations, I've learned a lot, and I've been trying to process and a lot that was mentioned because it is such a varied and a complex area that are very distinguished, speakers who know this far better than me and anyone else. But I just want to highlight, how, from the presentations, it is so evident that the majority of South Asian workers not only have low-paying jobs, but, most lack social protection. And these workers, especially women and low-caste workers, they face precarious employment in the informal sector, insecure livelihoods, and in the case of Pakistan that I know better, very low level of skills. And while we keep on trumpeting the high levels of economic growth across South Asia, but we have, the region has not been able to generate good jobs, for its fast growing labor force. The case of Rana Plaza, which many speakers highlighted, and the plight of garment workers in Bangladesh, the issues of bonded labor, child labor in the region, and the non-acknowledgement of women farm workers are some of the key issues that require both further research and activism, cross-learning across the region. And an underlying theme today was also what I picked up from some of the presentations was land administration and the corruption that surrounds it or is embedded in the entire colonial structures of land administration. Comrade Lucky's presentation provided some important points to ponder about from Bangladesh. Haris Ghazdar built on this theme in Pakistan's context, and the role of women farmers is also linked to the overall onslaught of land mafia and the state on the rights of indigenous people alongside women and those who are marginalized and excluded from the so-called fruits of development, again in single quotes. So for instance, millions of Adivasi people face threats of eviction from the land in India and elsewhere. And even the colonial judiciaries, which we think are going to set things right and provide rights or enforce basic rights, have pushed people out of their lands. I remember Indian Supreme Court's ruling in 2019, which evicted many people. In Pakistan, peasants have been forced out by property tycoons, often with the backing of state authorities. The most glaring case was that of the Kohistani people in Sindh province, most recently, a couple of years, where 10,000 acres of land were illegally taken for a big land development scheme. And last year in Pakistan, we witnessed major mobilization by the Baloch and other communities in Gwadar as their livelihoods are threatened by both mechanization and the nexus of the Chinese supported CPEC. the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And, those were really amazing, moments where the local fisher folk were protested for days and weeks, leading to some kind of relief, but not entirely, because it's going to come up again. So while we face this huge prospect of adding 12 million jobs a year, each year, because of the fast growing workforce, but at the same time, we have this huge challenge to revise and update the legal frameworks and decolonize them and implement them better in the South Asian region. Neoliberal economic paradigms adopted by most countries in the region, unfortunately, have led to also, another important new facet, which is a global issue of what is known as the gig economy. Hailed as a false revolution, the plight of gig workers remains abysmal in many countries of South Asia, especially India and Pakistan. Data show that the average cab driver or delivery rider in India and Pakistan is a male aged between 18 and 30, who's struggling to feed his family. Gig workers in India earn on an average $9.8 per day, while their peers in Pakistan earn about $6.5 a day. And 40% of Indian gig workers cannot afford enough food for their families. These workers are under immense stress, despite the fact that 34% of them in Pakistan and 24% in India have university-level education. Deunionization in Pakistan, for example, has been an ongoing policy encouraged by both the state and the big business, and that's a challenge that a lot of workers' movements in Pakistan are trying to grapple with. This increased informalization of the workforce, which poses a big challenge. But then it also brings us to the importance of unions, building solidarities across the region, which was very rightly pointed out by Apurva Kaiwar. But how do we move forward on that with a brutal, archaic visa regime that does not allow people to travel or meet or find a common way forward? And I guess in that sense, what Karamat Saab was saying makes a very useful pointer for our future investigations and conversations on this subject. The dysfunctional role of SARC was also mentioned and pointed out by many speakers, and perhaps that is something we need to explore in our further, discussions and meetings. I have a lot more to say, but I'll stop here because I've already taken a lot of time. But I've put in a few pointers in the chat, highlighting the three things I picked up from what the speakers had said. One is that how do we reaffirm and repledge the solidarities between South Asian workers and their representative organizations, and how do we look forward towards and demand a visa-free regime for all people to meet, especially in this context, the labor organizers and representative bodies. And thirdly, as was pointed out by Sultan Sahab, that we need more collaboration between universities, between research organizations, and I would add media organizations as well, because that's another thing we are seeing. Not just, it's a global trend, unfortunately, but in South Asia, it's even more stark because labor reporting has also diminished greatly. There was a time when labor was a proper beat. No more. I hardly read stories, unless there's a COVID emergency in India where millions have been forced out. We hardly read, stories of labor, their everyday struggles, their plight, and all the issues that were highlighted by our galaxy of speakers today. So I think that those are the kind of cross-border regional solidarities that we need to impress upon and work towards attaining. Thank you so much. And I would also like to announce that in the last week of June, our next event from Sapan
May, Raza, May. Last week of May. Last Sunday of May. Last Sunday of May.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm thinking
we're not in May yet.
Yeah, so last Sunday of May, Sapan would organize a session on road safety and how it is a public health emergency. We would have speakers on that subject, and it's just a reminder, but of course you'll get due notices as well. And with that, I would like to thank everyone, and those who wish to stay on, please do so. So that if you want to chat further or talk more among each other. And with that, thank you once again, Beena, and all the great organizers of Sapan, especially our young participants and organizers, because that is what we also need across the region, is to encourage and foster a younger generation of peaceniks, peace activists, thinkers, because that is how we are going to save not only our region, but I guess the world. Thank you.